So who remembers the short-lived 3D movie craze of the 1980s? Grab your red and blue glasses and join us as we explore the biggest 3D movies of my favorite decade, all starting with Coming At Ya. This 1981 Spanish-American Western film pretty much started the 3D film boom of the early 80s. Developed by two Xerox salesmen who were interested in getting into filmmaking, the men partnered with Tony Anthony, a filmmaker who'd made a number of spaghetti westerns. Looking for an angle, they decided to make a film in 3D. The film Coming At Ya had a limited release due largely to the fact that most US theaters were not equipped to show a 3D film at the time. However, Coming At Ya did big business in the theaters that were actually able to showcase it, often playing to sold-out crowds. Next up is the horror classic Friday the 13th Part 3. Released in 1982, this slasher flick used 3D to its fullest potential. Pitchforks, flying eyeballs, and even yo-yos coming straight at you. Fun fact, this was the film where Jason Voorhees donned his iconic hockey mask for the first time. Next we have Jaws 3D. Universal Studios gave its blockbuster shark franchise a 3D makeover in 1983. While the plot was a bit fishy, audiences couldn't resist the thrill of sharks swimming right into their laps. And this is actually the first 3D movie that I ever saw in theaters. Now, before we continue the list of 80s 3D films, let me ask, did you ever wonder how the whole 3D concept works and why we need to wear those flimsy white glasses with the red and blue lenses? 3D movies are made by capturing or simulating two slightly different perspectives of each scene, mimicking how our eyes perceive depth in the real world. These two images are then projected onto the screen, either simultaneously or alternately, depending on the technology being used. Special glasses are needed to ensure that each eye only sees the image meant for it. The glasses work by filtering the two images using polarization, color filters, or active shutters, so that the brain combines them to create a perception of depth, resulting in that three-dimensional viewing experience. Got it? Good, because I still have no idea how it works. Now let's talk Amityville 3D, a supernatural horror film that blended haunted house chills with pop-out thrills. Ghosts, fireballs, and even demons practically leapt off the screen. Now, it wasn't just horror films being made in 3D, as though it may seem so. There was a blatant Star Wars ripoff called Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, a wild three-dimensional ride through alien worlds and laser battles. Fun fact, this film starred a young Molly Ringwald just before she became an 80s icon in films like 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club. And who could forget the other sci-fi 3D gem from 1983, Metal Storm: The Destruction of Jared Sin. This somewhat cult classic featured epic battles, futuristic vehicles, and a whole lot of 3D action. Perfect for fans of post-apocalyptic adventure. Now, unfortunately, the 3D boom was short-lived. By the mid-80s, audiences grew tired of the gimmick and ticket sales declined. Plus, the rise of home video meant people preferred watching movies without needing special glasses, which actually gave me a headache. So there you have it, the wild and colorful story of 3D movies in the 80s.